church, which is to say that, give me sort of an example that perhaps church members or others might never have thought of in terms of using that vehicle within that framework.
Yeah, well, there are a couple of ways to do that. In some cases where churches own vehicles, where they might be able to provide transportation for their members, for instance, who would come to special classes at our centers. That would be extremely helpful for our organization, and it would also help those senior adults to be able to move out and branch out into the community. We've had tremendous support from a lot of the agency, the area churches, particularly as they sponsor our Meals on Wheels delivery program, or many of their members volunteer to deliver meals, or they may volunteer to help older people through our Living at Home program. The transportation, I believe, is an area where we have a great need, and we are hoping that some of the churches might be helpful in helping their members become involved with many of our activities. The other area is just with individual personal transportation. We have a new program we're very excited about called Credits for Caring, and that's where volunteers can earn credits for helping provide services for people who are isolated. And if they in turn need similar services in the future, they might be able to use those service credits that they have earned through volunteer work.
So they accumulate credits by
right.
participating in a program, and that one day they're able to cash in those credits.
That's
now,
exactly.
How successful is this program, or have you had it in
operation?
Well,
it's a brand new program. We started that the 1st of March. It's funded by Centennial Medical Center. We've already enlisted a large group of volunteers, and they're active and on the job. And we are, of course, the first in this area. We have looked at similar programs around the country and looked at their experience, and they have been in a very exciting way to recruit volunteers. The original purposes of the program were to try to attract active senior adults who would in turn come around and help people who might be less active and more frail.
Now, in reference to your transportation problem, Ms. Sellers, I think she already mentioned that you're operating out of a vehicle that has 130,000 miles, but are there any other special problems that you have outside of that as transportation?
Well, yes. Right now, I utilize Metro Social Services transportation system, but I have a catchment area whereas they will pick up an individual and bring them to Hadley Park Center. It's the ones that's outside the catchment area for Metro Social Services Hadley Park Center that I'm mainly concerned. I need transportation to bring these people out. We're talking about the people farther out, the Bordeaux area, Kings Lane area, have a great need to bring seniors in.
And there are people in these areas who would like to participate in some of the activities at the Hadley Park Center, but they can't physically get there.
Correct, because of transportation problems. We utilize a Pleasant Green Church van. They service us once a month through different activities that we have. For an example, we're going to have a fishing picnic trip, and we're going to Clearwater Lake, which is about 12 miles east of Nashville, and Pleasant Green is going to assist us in taking seniors to this lake. I was getting back to the Caring for Credits program. I would like to add that an individual that is working on that program, if they do not wish to use the credits that they have accumulated, then they may choose to give it to someone who needs some service. So I think that's unique in its own right there. I also would like to talk about some more services that I failed to mention. Hadley Park Center is a multi-purpose center, which means we do have try to have a diversified program. Our volunteer program, we could not exist if it was not for our volunteers. My budget would not allow me to pay the job descriptions that we have in our volunteer program. We average 125 volunteer hours a month, talking about 18 different volunteers. One individual will come to the center 3 days a week, and he's putting in 7 hours a week. So this gives you an idea of the stints that we have our volunteer program. We have volunteers that operate our nutrition program. We serve a hot, nutritious meal 5 days a week through Metro Social Services Nutrition Program. We have volunteers that teach our classes. As I told you about our health program, volunteers provide that services. So our volunteer program is a big integral part of our role at Hadley Park Center.
Very good. Ms. Jernigan, I would imagine that you could probably say the same thing about volunteerism throughout the various areas. Now, why don't you say something from your perspective in reference to the volunteers?
Well, as Delois says, we could not exist and be successful as an organization without the volunteers that we have. And last year alone, we had over 2,100 people who volunteered in some capacity with Senior Citizens Incorporated, and the kinds of things they do range all the way from services with our retired senior volunteer program, where we have over 600 retired senior adults in the Nashville community who deliver volunteer services in 60 different nonprofit agencies. We have all of that going on. We also have volunteers who teach all the classes that we're talking about, who do a lot of the blood pressure checks, who may help us with mailings when we send out newsletters to our volunteers and to our contributors. We have volunteers who plan special events. Our junior senior prom was an event that we had back in May, and that event was completely run and operated by volunteers.
Now, that was the junior senior prom. What I would imagine there's a